So let's talk card games for just a second. One of the things I've come to realize in my own play style, playing these games for this many years, is that possibly my least favorite style of games is just a straight card game in a small box that you just play together. That doesn't mean they're bad games. It just means for me, my personal style, they're not my favorite types of games. So in order for a card game to catch my attention, it's got to do something slightly different. Just a little bit of a tweak that doesn't involve holding cards in my hands, playing cards at the table, and that being it. There's got to be some sort of a tweak to make me interested. And so anytime there's a little bit of a difference in that type of game, I try to take a look at it. So today we're looking at a game called CastleCards. This is a tiny little game from Alberto Cano. It's interesting because it has some placement, some playing, different decks, all the sort of things that go on, as well as some cooperation and a couple different variable player counts, 2 to 4, 10 to 30 minutes. Always good to have a small box be a small time, in my opinion, unless it's something like Tiny Epic, which obviously that's more of a gimmick than a game itself, or than a timer itself. But CastleCards, let's take a look at what it is and why I'm taking a look at it today versus just going, it's a card game right now. So here we are, here's the basic setup. This is one player of a 2-player game. In a 3-player game or more, you would have one fewer wall. Now here's one issue I have. Obviously, this didn't have to be done this way, but I really would have liked it to have this wall here been symmetrical to where it looked like it was actually part of the castle wall, but that's just one gripe. There are 5 decks of cards in total. There's the castle cards here. There are these village cards, dungeon cards, the duke cards, and siege weapon cards. These are all different decks for different purposes. You will start with 4 cards from the village deck in your hand. Now, I'm not going to deal out 4. I'm just going to show you what these cards do. They do different things. So the bowman can be used to fortify your castle. You would stick it under here like this. Notice. Now your castle has 3 shields. We'll talk about what that means in a minute. It can also be used to attack. You have a duke who can be used to go and get one of these cards, which do better things like repel attacks from other players. You have explorers, which can go in and explore in the dungeon deck. These dungeon cards have torches in the bottom left. If you have enough torches to meet this or beat it, you can actually take this treasure. So it's 10 cards is how much treasure you would get from defeating the dungeon of that. So it's pretty excellent boss. Obviously, not all of them are like that. Some of these are empty or 1 card for free, no torches. And then you start fighting these guys here and they have one torch versus that. Soldiers, they can't really be used for shields, but they can be used to fight. So they have a sword on the top left. Same thing here. The king card lets you play 2 consecutive actions at once. We'll talk about the actions in a minute. And then there's one other type of card in the village deck besides constructor. Sorry, there's another one. Builder cards. You have to have 4 builder cards, or you can substitute 1 with gold, but you have to have 4 cards regardless to buy a siege weapon. The siege weapons are things that can attack straight through the walls. Sometimes they don't necessarily have to beat the walls first. For instance, these symbols here would show that you can attack the castle directly with these here. You don't have to have just I think it's actually the siege tower is the one that allows you to attack the castle directly, not the walls. These, it would seem you have to fight just the wall. That's what the siege weapon deck does. Knight card allows you to make your attacks in secret. And then the last but not least is there's the thief. Obviously, it does thiefy things. You can steal gold. But the gold cards. Gold cards are what allow you to buy more village cards as one of your actions. You could spend a gold to get 2 village cards. So on your turn, you'll draw a card. Now you'll start with 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. On your turn, you'll draw a card, and you can choose to do different actions with these cards. So we have a knight card, a constructor card, the thief, and the bowman. Now, that's 2 bowmen. I could, as my action, play a defense action, which would be I would be able to fortify my castle by putting some of these symbols down here. The amount of shields are how much damage that has to be dealt to this to flip it over. So if someone wants to destroy my wall here, and I don't have anybody defending it, it's a 2. So once 2 damage is dealt, this flips over and is defeated. Once all of these are defeated without a siege tower, you can then start attacking the castle. Once the castle is defeated, the person who defeats the castle wins the game. And that's really it. But the actions you can do, you can buy cards, obviously by spending the gold. You can explore the dungeon like we mentioned. you can, and you only get to do one of these unless you have the king, you can build a siege tower, you can defend. So in your turn, you can also choose to enhance the defenses. A bowman card can be played to enhance, or a soldier in the castle. So soldiers can go in the castles, but not in the walls. Only one can be put in a turn. Now I'm having to read this carefully because the rule book is not really well translated, so it's hard to get quite across what this is saying, but you can only do one of those per turn. The only card that you can really play a lot of cards during is the attack action, which means you take anybody you want with the symbol up here. You announce how many you're going to use. This is 2. You would put those over there and try to attack someone's wall. If they don't have any way to repel it with one of these Duke cards, which would repel one of these things, you then destroy their wall. And that's really all there is to it. You just play these cards, you do one action, play goes to the next person, they do an action, play comes back to you, you draw a card, do an action, they do an action, same thing, until one person's castle is destroyed. And that's it. That's all there is to Castle Cards. So that's Castle Cards. Now, the interesting things to me that stand out first and foremost is the fact that there is a little bit of a spatial placement to it. Now, does it matter necessarily where your cards are placed? So no, not so much a spatial placement, but more of a tableau. When I first read it, I thought it was going to be more spatial, but it's more just about having your castle in front of you. So it's more that you just have a tableau in front of you that has value, such as shields on it, or bowmen to protect it, or things like that. So not near as much spatial elements as I thought were going to be in this game. I do like the fact that there are several different decks that give you options, the dungeon deck, the village deck, the academy deck. So there's a couple different types of cards. So it's not just one single deck that you're coming out of. So that's neat. The idea of being able to talk your friends into helping you a little bit, that's also kind of neat. But overall, it's okay. It's not like it's a bad game. It's not like one of those ones you go, oh, it's broken, it just doesn't even work, It's not something I would play very often. It's just not a great game. It's just a game. It's just a game. That's it, really. It's just a game that is small, doesn't take a whole lot of time to play, that does involve some cool elements. One thing I'm also not a fan of, and I never like knocking art because it's someone's preferred style, but I'm not a fan of the whole current Steven Universe or cutesy, fun, ironic, LOL art, and I'm not a fan of that. Like, I like art, I look at Feast for Odin and even Agricola and Le Havre and look at that art and I go, okay, I can get behind that, but sometimes when I see a game like this, I just don't, it's not my thing. Now, that doesn't mean it shouldn't be yours. It doesn't mean that at all. It's just not my thing. And there are plenty of people who enjoy this style of art, and that's fantastic. But for me, it's a pass on the art. Gameplay-wise, it's got some redeeming elements that you heard me talk about. But that's Castle Cards. You can pick this up. It's not hard to find. It's not big. It's not anything that you need to write home about either. So that's Castle Cards. It's a game. But I'm Brian Drake here on the latest retro with the Dice Tower. If you enjoy my reviews, make sure to go check out my channel and subscribe there. But also, if you want to see the rest of the videos that we have here on the Dice Tower, there is a playlist on my channel that has all 100 and something videos that I've done on the Dice Tower. You can see the different reviews and style that we have there. So make sure to go there, take a look, and check it out. Until next time, follow me on Twitter at @TheLatestRetro or Instagram to see all that kind of crazy goodness. But until next time, I'll see you.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.